And this is the second video on the reflection of light. And now in here we are going to our notes on page 5. We're looking at the image formed by a plane mirror. Now you can also take a look at your textbook. We are talking about page 12, 1.3, image formed by a plane mirror, which is corresponding to our notes here. Now inside the textbook there are a lot of details. For example, they talk about the virtual image of what it is. And in these notes, we didn't talk about it in much details. But you can take a look at it first, and you can referring back to this video. Now in here, if we have a mirror as shown in the diagram on your right, you will see that an object is reflecting off the mirror, and there is an image formed. Our eyes will be able to see that image. We are looking at the image. We are not looking at the object itself. So in here, our eyes are looking at the mirror, and all we can see is the image. So in here, let's take a look at what this image is about. The first thing it comes to here is this image is a virtual image. In here, virtual image means that it's only an image. It's not a real thing. It's not a real object, but our eyes perceive that as a real object in itself. So in here, we got the virtual, that is the virtual image. And let me spell it out so it's easier for you to see. In here is virtual and image. It's a virtual image. Okay? So this is the first part. It's a virtual image. And it's erected, so it's not going upside down. So if you see the arrow is pointing to the top, it points to the top in the image as well. It doesn't go the other way. It doesn't flip it. No, it would not. And also, there's a lateral inversion. And let me spell that for you. It's LATERALLY, laterally inverted. Now, in here, this word you see that actually laterally inverted. Actually, it means that it's going left. The left-hand side will become the right-hand side. The right-hand side will become the left-hand side. So basically, it's flipped. The left-hand side and the right-hand side are going in the opposite direction. That's what it means by laterally inverted. And also, the object distance will be equal to the distance, the image distance. So in here, if we draw a line here, all the way from the object to this mirror line here. Oops, let me just erase that. So if we draw this line here, this line will be exactly the same distance as from this side to that side. Okay, so the distance here will be the same for that. Of course, this drawing is not the best drawing in demonstration, but it's the idea that you will have the same distance. That's what they're trying to tell you here in the next part. And the object and the virtual image are of the same size. So one of them will not be bigger or smaller. It will be exactly the same size. It's only the left-hand side and the right-hand side are flipped. That's all. Now in here, let's take a look at the virtual image. Now in here, the virtual image, the way have to enter our eyes from the position of the image. So in here, the person will be looking at an apple, for example, but it's actually refracted from an object. So that's what it means by drawing that dotted line in here. So let me just highlight that. So you see that in this part is the dotted line, as you can tell. And basically, it's the same thing as this part here. Why is it the dotted line? Is because Oh, let me just erase the other part. So in here, you see this dotted line here. So you see the dotted line here. Basically, it is the same line as the way of the light, how it would be traveled. But in here, our brain wouldn't be able to make that adjustment. So we would just perceive that as the object is there. So we got to receive the reflected object from the mirror. Now in here, it mentioned that the virtual image is represented by the dotted line. So in here, we will be drawing in the dotted line as the virtual image. In here, there's some things you need to be aware of. For example, the first one, the virtual image cannot be formed on a screen. So in here, the screen by itself, it will not do anything. It's the mirror that we are actually reflecting off it. And a virtual image can be seen by our naked eyes. So basically, we can see it through the mirror. That's what it means. And that can be photographed. Okay? So in here, there's some basic ground rules on what it can do. And in here, if you take a look at the first example. Now in here, the first one is easy for you to draw in, because in here, 1A actually is just an arrow. Basically, it's the same size, but please make sure you draw it in the dotted line. It has to be the same distance away. It's same in your Form 1's mathematics. You learn about distance from the mirror. So in here, that is the distance. When you draw in, please make sure you'll be able to draw that in as well with your rulers, so that you can actually measure the distance. Okay? So in here, compare that to this distance here. So in here, you have to make it relative, okay? So you have to make it into a respectable image. The same size as well, so please draw it in. Now, in here, the next part is a little bit more difficult, because if you take a look at here, then part B, in this drawing, the arrow actually is pointing upward. But when you are doing in a 45-degree angle, the mirror image of it will be going sideways, meaning that it will be going into a horizontal direction. So it's pointing to your left. As you can tell, it's pointing to your left. But the distance away from it will be the same. Okay? So it will be exactly the same as what you have done in the A, but this time it's pointing to the side. That's what the 45-degree angle will do. Okay? Now, in the question C here is the same idea as what you have seen in the previous two. It's pointing to your left. Okay? But D is more interesting, because in here you see the F is inverted. So you can see that it's going to a different direction. And in here, number 3, you can try it on your own. You should be able to spell police. And of course, in Chinese as well, it will be more interesting to see how you write it. But actually, it will be exactly the same as how you would normally draw it. Okay? Now, in here, question 4.13. Eric stands 1 meter in front of a plane mirror. And then Martha is at 2 meters behind Eric, okay, as shown in this diagram. So in here, let's take a look at it. How far away is the distance between Eric, the real person, this one, and the image? The image actually is this one. So if you can tell by looking at it, so you see here there's a convention we use. We write down the same name, but with a little dash at the back. That means that it's a image. That's why it's trying to tell you it's different from the real thing. That's what it does. So in here, how far away is from the 1 all the way to the 3 here. So let's take a look. So if we stretched it all the way from here to here, what would that distance be? That will become 4 meters. That's why it shows that is 4 meters there. Now in here, in question 5, 10, so in here, if you invert that, so in here you need to put a mirror, and then you need to draw the image as shown in here. So if you draw the image, you will see that, oh, okay, it's pointing 1, 2, 3. It's not up to the 4 yet, it's 3 o'clock. So if you take a look at your image on your far right, actually it's 3 o'clock, it's 3:58. So in here you see that it will be a little bit different than what you're thinking. It's not 4 o'clock yet, it's 3 o'clock. Now, and in here, the last one. So if you take a look at this drawing here, you got an image of R, and then you got P and Q there on the top hand and top side there. So that pencil, actually, you will see looking at it, which of the following shows the correct position of the image. Okay, so we take a look at trying to look at the image from the top. We call this a bird's eye view. We're looking at it from the top downward. So in here, you take a look at it, only 2 points upward. B and D points upward, but the B actually points in an opposite direction, so it's wrong. So in here, only D is correct. So in here, only D is the correct answer. Now, in here, let's move on to draw this graphically, the formation of image by a plane mirror. So in here, you need to go through it step by step. So in here, the first one, you need to draw the image. Actually, in here, the first thing you need to do is draw the image. Actually, it's important, because if you draw this image correctly, then all the lines will be based on this image. So in number 2, you will see the lines actually coming in, and you will draw from the top of the image to an eye. So basically, you will draw from the top of the arrow to the mirror, from the mirror back to your eye. Okay? So after that, you will draw in the dotted line as the straight line from your eye to that image, top of the tip there. After that, you will be drawing the bottom part as well. The bottom part you will be drawing in, and from the bottom of the image to the eye. So in here, you will always start from the image backward, going backwards, so you will be able to see where the line goes. The solid line actually is based on the solid line, the dotted line. So you need to know where the dotted line is first. Now in here, in the second point, the point object by a plane mirror. This one is easier because it's just 1 point. So in here, you will start from the object itself and draw it backward, and from the image back to the eye. And then you will see the dotted line again, and then from that, we can draw the solid line. Now in here, in our example, you will see that from our eyes is looking at a mirror. So in here, we need to form the object first, okay? And in here, make sure you don't draw the whole person, because when you're looking at something, it will not form this person. You're only looking at from your eye. So in here, we don't want to emphasize on the observer. We want to emphasize only from where the light is traveling. And do not draw the whole body of the observer here. And now let's follow the steps. Okay, so in here, A, we draw the object in first. So in here, you see the object on A, and then you draw the image with the same distance. Again, and let me emphasize that you need to have the same distance from here to here. And this distance will be converted into the same distance as from the mirror all the way to that image there. So those two distances would be the same, okay? So you need to make sure you're doing this properly with a ruler, so that's why I cannot draw it on this drawing freehand. So this one, that's why in here it will be more appropriate if you actually look at the drawings in here first. So in here, so you see that the dotted line, you're going from the object to the person's eye. We start with the dotted line all the way, stop at the mirror, and then from the mirror we draw a solid line going to the eye. And make sure you see the arrow. The arrow only exists on the solid line. The dotted line is the virtual image. It does not exist, okay? The dotted line does not exist. Now, in B here, let's take a look. B, we need to draw the same object as the image first. So again, same idea. So in here, we need to draw the object in first. So we measure off how far away is from the arrow to the mirror, that distance. And then from that, we can draw in the other side so that you will see that, oh, okay. So in here, this part is the same distance as what you have over there. So in here, we draw the same distance in. And then from the arrow, we try to do it in the dotted line as well. So from there, we draw the virtual image first, and then use the dotted line going backward to form the solid line. Now in here, you will see that our next part is on the object, on the fall. So in here, we need to draw in the virtual image first, the actual image, and then from the actual image, we draw in the virtual image. So in here, you will see that we need to draw the actual image first in. With the tree, with the actual size of the tree there, you see that you need to draw that in first. And from that, you can put in the virtual image. So in here, it's important that you draw in the real image first, and then you put in the virtual image. So in here, the real image, then virtual image. After that, you need to draw in the dotted line. So in here, you need to know where the eyes is. So in here, you need to measure off how far away is this person from the mirror. Okay? So this person, this distance, will be the same as this distance here. From the eye all the way to this mirror, it will be exactly the same. Okay? So this distance should be the same. So in here, you need some work on it to measuring off how far away that is. Okay? So from that, you will start off with the basic drawing, with the mirror, the eye, and the actual image. From that, you will form the virtual image on the other side with dotted line. So again, please draw in the dotted line. It will take some time to draw in this part. I know that it's time consuming, but please put in the effort in drawing this accurately as possible, because everything will be based on what you're drawing from the virtual image. Okay? Now, that's only the first part. Now, in the second part, you want to look at an object is hanging from the back of somewhere. So in here, you need to measure off how big is that object. So in here, you need to know how big is this object here. This object here. You need to know what is the size of it. Okay? So you need to measure off how big is this object first. So from this object, it will be the same object as you will be drawing in your drawing. And that you will require a mirror and an eye. So in here, that's what you started off with. The person, the distance, how far away is it, and then from that, you can draw in a mirror. After that, you can draw in the image. And again, make sure you draw the dotted line in for the image and the virtual lines over there, okay? So all of those on your right hand side will be dotted line. only the left hand side will be the solid line. So those you need to pay attention to. Okay. And this will probably take you a while to draw in, so if you need to, please freeze the video and draw in this now. And the next one, in here, this is a little bit more complicated than the last one, but actually you just flip it 90 degrees. So in here, the first thing you need to do in this question is make sure you measure how big this object is, okay? So this object, you need to know what is the size of it, how big is it, and then from that, this object will be turned into a virtual image, which is exactly the same size as what you have on your page down there. From that, you will follow the same step, draw the point of observation to that virtual image, okay? So you start with the dotted line all the way across to turn it into a solid line. And we do the same thing with the next one. This one is a virtual image. So in here you see that this object is only a dot, only one dot here. Then that's why in here our virtual image is only one dot as well. Okay? So in here that's what we can do by drawing this in. Now in here the next part will be a bit more complicated, because in here we will be looking at a mirror, and the person you need to look at, you're looking at yourself. So in here you want to see what this person is. So in here I know it's a bit complicated, so bear with me. You are the person over here on the side. This is you, this is the person, okay? So this part is you, and you are the one with an eye on it, okay? So this is you. And corresponding to that is you will have a corresponding virtual image, okay? So first step, draw in the arrow, and from that you will see that your mirror image, what would it look like, okay? Now, yes, it's a bit hard to see, I know. Actually, this one should be this one. Sorry about that. Let's take a look. Okay, so in here, let's take a look at the lines here. That is going in, going up. Nope, that's correct. Okay, so in here, you're this person at the far end here, because it's too many lines. I know it's difficult to see. So in here, you are this person here in the mirror. Okay. So with this mirror, that's the first virtual image you draw in at the far right hand side, okay? So again, do the same thing, draw the dotted line in. Of course, you need to do the measuring the distance from here to here, and that distance should be the same as the distance you start off here from this side all the way to the end there. So those two distances should be the same, okay? So that is something that you should be aware of. So from that, you can draw the solid line in on your left hand side and the dotted line in on the right hand side. Now, in part B, that's the confusing part. That's why the drawing doesn't look that keen, is because of the drawing on the B part. So in here, the person moved towards the mirror. So in here, this is the person. You move towards the mirror. So you start from here, move all the way up here. Okay, so you move up. So in here, after you move up, guess what happened to the image? Your image always also move upward. So in here, it's closer, because what we have talked about is the distance. The distance here, from here to here, the image, the real person to the mirror is exactly the same length as from mirror to that image. Those two distances should be the same, okay? So in here, make sure you track it, you measure it off with your rulers, and you do a good job on drawing the actual distance, okay? So from that, again, we'll do the same thing. The left hand side is the solid line and the right hand side is the dotted line. So that's why you will see that it's exactly the same image, okay? In here, you need to write in, it requires the same length of the mirror for him to see the whole of his body in the mirror. So it means that it will be the same length away from it. But all this converge to the eye, okay? So your eye sees it, okay? So that's why it looks a bit confusing at first, but you will figure it out, okay? So it just takes some time, that's all. Now, in here, the next part is a bit more confusing. So please bear with me. In here, it actually is not that bad. It's just the first time you do it, it's a bit confusing. So let's take a look at it now. Now in here, a person, he stands at, well actually, yes, his eye level is 1.5 meter above ground. So the person is a bit high, that's fine. But what we were concerned about is the eye in here. So in here, what we are concerned about is this part. His eye level is 1.5 meter above the ground. That is important. Now, in here, I would not ask you to draw it if your own. Please follow this step by step so you see what it looks like, okay? So in here, you know that it's 1.5 meter above ground, and he is standing 1.5 meter in front of the mirror. So in here, also mentioned that this distance is 1.5 meter, okay? So this distance is 1.5 meter. So he sees a tree, an object there. So the object here, this object here is 1.8 meter height, and then it's 2.5 meter behind him, okay? So in here, this image, you need to convert that into the actual image on the drawing. So in here, you need to do some math, okay? So in here, we got 1.8 meter, and then you got the drawing of 0.5 meters. That is this scale. So you need to actually sit down and work out the math first. So in here, you can tell that it's 10, 15, 16, 17, 18 squares up from the ground, okay? So in here, the object itself is 18 squares up, okay? So you need to know that. With this image form, with this object, you will need to form a virtual image. From that, we move it all the way across to the other side, okay? So in here, you need to know where is this mirror. And we know that the distance is, and that distance from 1.5 all the way across, let me make it longer. So it starts from here all the way across to here. So this is 4 meters long. 4 meters is 20 squares down below here. So this is this distance, okay? 20 squares down here. So from that, you know that the virtual image will be another 20 squares or 4 meters. So that's how we do it with the length there. That's how far the actual tree is away from the mirror to the virtual image. Okay, so that's the first part. From that, you can draw in this image here. It will have the exactly same size as the other one over here. The real object is exactly the same size, okay? But this one is drawn with the dotted line. From that, we need to measure off the person's eye, which is 1.5 meter above ground. So in here, we know that this person is 1.5 meter above ground here, 1.5 meter. Which translates into 15 squares up. So here is 15 square up. So how far away is he away from the mirror? That distance, turns into 5 square is 1 meter. So in here is around 7.5 is in the middle somewhere in here. So in here you got 5, 6, 7, 7.5 square away from the mirror. So please draw this in. From that, you do the same thing as what we have done in the previous image. We will be drawing in the virtual image with the dotted line on your right hand side and all the solid lines on your left hand side. So that's what we do. We draw the top lines to the eye and the bottom line to the eye as well, and then we can draw in the remaining lines. So in here, what is the minimum length of the mirror for him to see the tree? So in here you see the mirror. It does not have to be a full length mirror as is shown on top here. Or the mirror, all it has to be is from the top here all the way down to this point here, because after that point it's only a virtual image. You don't even need a physical mirror. You will be able to see that up to that point. So how long is it? You just measure it. It turns out to be 0.5 meters, 5 squares. Okay, so you should be able to get that. And the position of such a mirror at the lower edge of mirror is 1.1 meter above the ground. So in here, okay, so let me just type it in case you didn't read properly. So in here, we'll put in the lower edge of mirror is 1.1 meter above the ground. Okay, so that's what it reads. Okay, so you should be able to pick up what that is. Okay, the lower edge of the mirror is 1.1 meter above ground. That's why in here in this drawing you see the bottom part, it has 1.1 meter here. You just measure off this diagram. Okay, so that's why in here all this diagram need to be accurate, because you can measure how many square that is away from the ground. Now in here, an example 2. Example 2 is in here with the same idea of what we are doing in the previous example 1. Now in here, this person is 1.6 meter tall, and in here 1.6 meter is a little bit above the 16 square actually to be exact. So in here his eyes is 1.5 meter above ground. So again in here you need to know where the eyes is first. Okay, so from that eye you will be able to see that he is 1.2 meter in front of the mirror. So in here you got this distance of 15 square, because you have to be careful, because in here it gives you the scale of 0.4 and 0.5. So you need to work it out one thing at a time. Okay, so in here it will be different, so you have to be careful. So in here you see that, okay, so in this horizontal distance it is represented by 15 square. And in here, you want to see how he's going to draw the whole person. Okay, find the minimum length of the mirror again. It's same as what we have done previously. Now, so in here, we need to do it one step at a time. And in order to do that, you need to draw in the actual person and then the virtual image. Okay. So in here, don't be confused first. This is the this is the first person we're going to draw in. This is you drawing in, okay? That's the first part. And then you need to draw the virtual image, which is this part. After you draw these two in, then you can draw in the dotted line on your right hand side and the solid line on your left hand side, okay? Now, in part B, this person is moved away 0.4 meter from the mirror. So he's walking backward, okay? 0.4 meters. So in here it's represented by 5 squares, moving it backward, 5 squares. And when you do that with the real object, you need to do the same thing with the virtual object. This one moving backward, 5 squares. That's why it moved back there, okay? So in here, after you drawing this, you will be able to see it. Oh, okay. And you draw the same thing as before, and that goes to the person's eye, and you will be able to work it out to be seeing the length of this mirror. This mirror here. So how big is this mirror? It's all determined by these points here. So in here, you'll be coming up to, it's around 0.4, that is 0.5. And if you come up to around 0.5, and that turns into 0.8. Yep, 0.8. If it's a little bit around 0.8 or 0.9, that's about right, okay? So because these lines you need to draw accurately, and in here, if you get 0.8 meter of this length of this mirror, that would be correct, okay? Now in here, I'm not going to go through the next part with you, but in here, example 3, you can try it at home, and I will show you the answer for this one. It is the same idea as what we have done in the previous 2 examples. And if you want to try it, please do that now and see if you can make this image, okay? So in here, please read this carefully and draw in the little diagram at the top there. It will help you to understand. Again, in physics, whenever you are doing these questions, this kind of questions, always have your little drawings at the top and to summarize every information that's given up to you. Because if you get the first part of the drawing correct, the chances are you will be able to get the rest of the drawing correct. But if you didn't get the first part correct, it's really hard to get the remaining answer to be correct. So in here, I will show you the answer. Please try at home and try to draw this in, see if you can actually make this into your own drawing. Okay, so I will show you the answer now, but if before that, please pause that and try to form your own answer. Okay, so in here is example 3, and the next one is example 4. And yes, this one looks a little bit complicated, but please spend the time and try to do this properly and see if you can come up with this correct image, okay? In here, ignore the one with the cross on it. It's the one at the bottom, the Q prime and S prime. Okay, so this one and also this one. Those are the correct one, okay? Ignore the one on top. Okay, so in here, you should be able to come up with this drawing. It will take some time to do it, but please try it. In here is really important. Again, the step is do the actual image first, where the actual persons are, the Q and S, and then do the virtual person, the Q prime, S prime, with the dot on it. Then you will be able to get what this drawing is about, okay? So this one will take you some time to do it, but please work it out as your homework. Try it, see if you can make this work, and it should be able to form a reasonable answer to this drawing, okay? So my lesson of the second one, it will stop it here. So please try it and make sure you try this at home.